hope that this is coming out correct. When I do content, I don't have a lot of storage on my phone. So with my phone recording, my videos can only be like 8 minutes long. So because I have a longer story to tell you, um, I'm sorry, I'm trying to find the light. The sun is setting, and so the lighting is like all over the place, and I'm holding my phone with my hand. And I do have carpal tunnel, so I don't know, y'all. Please just bear with me. But it's more about the story than the look. I eventually will get the look, the setup, everything together. But right now, I just really am so excited about finally getting my stories out. So I first am Keita Dixon. I go by Keita, rhymes with Rita, and I am an artist of many sorts. My artist name is Cadillac. But on this channel, we're Keita. I'm dealing with the things that I had to go through within narcissistic abuse. And I am a survivor of narcissistic abuse. It's been many areas of my life, but within my family, which is the hardest one to deal with. Don't get me wrong, narcissistic spirit in the workplace is very difficult to deal with as well. But your family is supposed to be your safe space, so that's times harder to deal with. So within my family, I have dealt with, um, I'm gonna say the residuals from narcissistic spirit, because now that I'm putting two and two together and making four, this spirit went back in my mother's family as well. So, though my main, the person that mainly showed the narcissistic abuse to me did not come into my life until I was about 17 to 18, the residuals from that narcissistic spirit, because they come from the same family as my mother. So my mother was raised in that narcissistic spirited household as the person that was the narcissistic abuser in my life. They were raised in the same household. So this spirit was rampant in their home. And I do believe that it travels through generations. So it passed on to that person. And even if you don't become narcissistic after being raised in a household of narcissism, it leaves you impaired in ways. And I believe those impairments were passed on to my mother, in the way that my mother and father, those impairments came into play as they were doing child rearing years with me. So as we peeling back these layers, it I mean, without all of this mental torment, I probably could have been a, we're not gonna dwell on what I could have been, but I don't think I would have been so messed up, so far behind. So but anyways, I'm gonna tell some fill in the blank stories. But this is the biggest thing. And even after this, I did not stop talking to that person that was giving me that huge narcissistic um, energy in my life. Okay, so in 2016, that was one of the hardest years of my lives. My years of my life, not my lives, of my life. My mother passed that year, 2016. She was 53 years old. She had just graduated college not even 6 months prior with her master's. Her graduating college spawned me to going to college. I went and enrolled in college at age 36. No, I was 35 when I enrolled, but by the time I went, no, I'm sorry, guys. I was 34. By the time college started, I was going on 35. So she spawned me to going back to college. Um, my mother had majored in business. She wanted to get a Chick-fil-A, and she wanted her daughters to work for her at Chick-fil-A so that we always had a stable job that was going to pay us our worth. She wanted something that she can have in the family, so that we all could be successful, right? My mother was a loving person, but she did not physically show love. So we didn't grow up with hearing mama say, I love you, mama hugging on you, mama with that affection. My mother was a disciplinarian. My mother was a almost like per, not quite perfectionist, but you had that bar was high. And but she loved us. She really did. But it's the love that you got to dig and you got to see the actions of love, because that is better love, honestly, because the love that you can get from narcissists or other people is just the verbalizing of I love you. But my mother did things that make you know she loved you. Like, but you as a child, you want to hear those words. So that also was another thing. I was always longing for that, like really gentle affection from my mother. But now that I'm going back and not me figuring it out, now that God is revealing more and more to me, I'm learning that my mother didn't have that growing up. So how could she have given me what she didn't know herself, right? So business, she just graduated, got me back in school. I was always the one that I'm a dreamer. If I have a dream, I'm jumping out there to try it. I'm going for it. Now, the thing that happens is my parachute never opens. The dream never works out. My plan never happens. It never is successful. And I always have to end up returning back to some 9 to 5 job to take care of me because my venture never works out. This is my fifth YouTube channel. So this is kind of a clue as to how it never works out. Fifth YouTube channel, second TikTok. Um, I've had MySpace. I've been trying to be a content creator for the longest. And all of that would say, why don't you just quit? Clearly, content creation is not for you. It is not working for you. It is not prospering. But I don't understand that. I'm still, if that's what I want to do, I'm going to go out and do it. So that's just me. I'm the dreamer. But the dream deferred. What happens to the dream deferred? So the dreamer is admired if the dream works, like those that go out there to rap and they started hustling in the streets and this and that, but then they made it. I also was a rapper. They made it. They're admired for that hustle mentality, for that dream, for achieving that. But if they don't make it, people look at you crazy. And I'm the example of when you don't make it on any of those dreams, right? So, needless to say, I never thought that I made my mother proud until I enrolled in college. Yes, I enrolled in college. I do have another story time of how my mother inspired me to go back to college at age 34 and 35. Okay, so what ended up happening right after I finished my first semester, which was so rough for me, I am disabled as well. And it was very, in many, multiple ways. So it was really difficult for me to actually complete school. It was very challenging. It was difficult. So for me to complete school, it it took a while. Okay, so I finally completed school. I'm sorry, I finally completed my first semester, and it was so challenging. And I really wanted to just run home to my mother and tell her about it. And when I did go home to her, and I passed my test, I passed my first exam, and she was like, Keita, see, it's not that hard. You can do it. I'm really good in English, and I used to help my mother write her college papers. And she would always tell me, Keita, if you can help me write college papers, why can't you go to college? And it was because I had very low self esteem, low self worth, didn't believe in myself, and neither did anybody else believe in me. So I started to not believe in myself. That just comes when you don't have support from nowhere, you start to doubt what you're doing, right? So I go to that semester, get through it, and I was about to go to the summer semester because I wanted to knock school out because I felt like I was too old to be in school. I was a single mother. And within that little, it's like a week in between semesters, honestly. My mother went in for an outpatient surgery, and due to negligence at age 53, my mother never came home. Never came home. She went in for outpatient surgery and never returned. So before she passed, me and my mother started to get some type of relationship. Remember, I told you I longed for that loving type relationship. I remember I used to admire like people when I seen families where the siblings got along. And I'm like, you literally get along with your siblings? Like my sisters used to hate my guts. I'm one of 5 sisters, and they all hated me, it felt like. I always felt like I was the least favorite of my parents, like almost like they just kept me just because, out of some type of obligation, but I wasn't necessarily the favorite child. I'm that black sheep. I'm that scapegoat child. I was the one, it was always my fault. Anything that happened around the house, somehow it rerouted itself and it was my fault. Right? So as soon as I started to finally get a relationship with my mother was gone. Yeah, she passed. It was so shocking. I'm like, huh? Like how? Like for outpatient surgery? Specifically, she was supposed to pass a kidney stone. So it was so crazy. At that time, I was working on another creative project. I had my laptop there. I'm thinking my mother is recovering. She's fine, because she went to the outpatient surgery early that morning. And then when I woke up and came to my senses and called my dad, he was like, Mom's not doing so good. And I'm like, huh? What do you mean she's not doing so good? I really do believe my mother passed that morning because they said they lost her for a while. And she came back, and we came up to the hospital. We sat there with her. I was working on my little project. The sisters were taking rounds. Like one was going to sit with her. I was sitting with her, and then one of my little sisters, were going to come back up there with her to stay with her through the night. And we just didn't know that this was the end. We didn't know. So when I left from my round, I have a deeper story. I don't know if I can links yet on this channel, but on my other channel, I do have a more in-depth emotional story time about losing my mother like that. Like so, And it was 2 days before Mother's Day, 2016. So we thinking that my mother's good. She was sitting up laughing with us, talking with us, but she was still in pain. So I went home, but it wasn't like utter pain, right? I went home. My sister came up there, and in the middle of the night, we get a call to get up here now. I make my way to the hospital, still not thinking this is the end, right? So the sisters came in, and I had an aunt, cousins, they came up there, and the sun was rising. It was that early in the morning. The sun started to rise, and they kept putting us in and out the room. So they was like, you can go in and see your mother. So when we came back to when we seen her the night before, she was sitting up talking. She was in pain, but she was she was conscious. When they said we can go back in the second time, my mother is a fair skinned woman. She wasn't, they said she could hear us, but she was in an induced coma. All around her mouth was blue. And I was like, how could she hear me? Then I, it, but they were like, she can hear you. You can talk to her. So we talked to her. I tell her, this is Keita. I love you, Mom. I'm literally like, what is this? Like, how is she, what is going on? And we're still thinking they're going to try to save her. So they say, y'all, okay, y'all spoke to her. Y'all go out into the family room, and y'all sit out there, and we're going to try to do all we can for her. And not even a few minutes later, I hear something said cold blue. I'm like, what's cold blue? I didn't know what it was. But when I Googled what it was, like, oh God. My mother was gone. When we walked back up to the room, they called us back to the room. All I remember is that vision of them trying to revive her. It was a horrible, it's not what you see on TV when they trying to revive somebody. It was like they was trying to revive her so hard that they would like pushing her up out her bed. God. And a few moments after that, they said, y'all can come in. She was gone. She was gone. My mother was gone. And I went in and I just rubbed her hands because I wanted to, before her hands weren't so soft and smooth and a beautiful skin. I rubbed her hands, I rubbed her feet. I wanted to remember how her feet look. Her hands look like mine. I didn't want to forget anything, so I went to rubbing her feet. I rubbed her hands, I rubbed her hair. I was so I was so emotionally just, and I started to scream out. I was supposed to do her hair. My mother had the silkiest black hair. I was supposed to do her hair because I was a cosmetologist, but due to carpal tunnel, I can't practice. It's like for every gift I have, I got a curse right along attached to it that prevents me from utilizing it to its fullest, right? So I was supposed to do my mother's hair. That's when we bonded the most, and that's when she actually talked to me, and she would talk. It was almost like a whole different level, a deeper level we got on while I was doing her hair. And I was supposed to do her hair. And then I remember going to a theme park with my daughter, and I was so tired a couple of days prior. And I woke up, and my mother was like, I just tried to do it myself. And I was like, Mom, why didn't you wake me up? I would have got up and did. I used to get up in the wee hours of the night. I didn't care how late it got. I would do my mother's hair. I would roll her hair sleepy, leaning up against the wall. And she was like, no, you were tired. I wasn't going to bother you. So it crushed me. I was like, I was supposed to do her hair. I was supposed to do her hair. Now, also, who was there was my cousins. I had two male cousins, and I had an aunt, my mother's younger sister. She was there. My aunt from my father's side was there. So after I couldn't see her like that no more. They snipped a little piece of her hair for me. I took it in a little. They put it in a little pouch, and I could not see her no longer like that. But my dad said he is not leaving her side, not until they come and take her. He's not leaving her side. So I said, well, I can't do this. I'm gonna sit out in the family room back with the family. And when I got to that family room, to my surprise, my aunts and my cousins were gone. Like it hadn't even been 15 to 20 minutes since my mother passed. They just left. I'm like, where's everybody at? Where's everyone? So I go back to the room. My dad is still in the room with my mother. My dad wouldn't leave her side. I kept thinking he was gonna come tell me, Keita, no, they got her back. They got her back. I said, I can't sit here like that. I gotta go home. So because I couldn't find my family, I drove home. I had my daughter. I don't know if my daughter rode with me or what. It's like a blank. But I just know it was nobody there when I needed them. There was nobody there. And I had been there for those same people my whole life, but it was nobody there when I needed them. So I go home. I have a sister that's epileptic. So the minute she came in and seen my mother like that, she fell out on the ground and started seizing, and they was trying to take her to the emergency room. It was like, leave her alone. She can't help it. She can't help it. This is her mother. Leave her alone. So they go take her to the emergency room, bring her back. I think my sister ended up staying in the emergency room. I don't even know what happened from that point. All I know is that everyone left me. Everyone, when I needed them, left me. They left me. So my mother passed. You go through the mourning stages where you're just so hollow and empty. You can't even sleep that first night. Um, all kinds of people were stopping by from the church, bringing boxes of chicken, like from everywhere. Every chicken you could find, they was bringing them. And I had lost so much weight. I always been like kind of hefty in the later years of my life, and I went down to nothing. I was skin and bones, and I laid in my sister's room on her couch. I would sleep in my daughter's room. I would be all over the place, right? And for the life of me, I couldn't understand why my aunt, my mother's younger sister, didn't stop by. When she left that hospital right after my mother died, she never came back by the house at all. And she told me it was because she couldn't bear to come to the house without my mother there. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I lived here. And you think it's easy for me to come into this house when I walk past her window, her door, and see her there, and she's not there no more, and there's no real reason as to why but neglect, just uncare when it came to her is why she's not here. Do you think that's easier for me? So you already know with funerals come drama. It was a whole bunch of drama back and forth. And everybody wanted to place me in the middle of their drama. Everyone. And I was always the peacemaker. I hate drama. I hate conflict. So drama every which way. So another family member came forward and showed us a bill that my aunt, which is, she's that source of that narcissistic abuse that's been in my life. My aunt, I love her dearly, and that's the thing. I still love her to this day. But she caused me so much pain. She's caused me so much pain in my life. And if I gave her a chance today, she would hurt me again. She would. She would. So it came that they said they came with a bill, a phone bill, saying that my aunt went and ordered a phone, a cell phone, the night my mother passed. My mother passed early in the morning. So that meant sometime after my mother passed, they were saying that she went and ordered a phone. And I'm like, so it was me in the middle of that conflict where the family's like, how despicable could you be to go ordering stuff in her name the day she dies? And I just didn't want to believe it. I did not want to believe it. So I said, there's no way, not even, no, couldn't even do that. Guys, I'm going to have to go because my aunt, I'm sorry, not my aunt, my daughter is calling me. So I got to go. I'm going to wrap this up. But the time that I should have been mourning my mother, I was put in the middle of mess about a phone, a dispute with a phone, a cell phone. I don't give two red cents about a phone when my mother is gone. Every time I would see my aunt after that, my aunt would come to me, Keita, you gotta make them know I didn't go order this phone the day your mother died. That's all we would hear. If we would be out to eat, I'd be trying to free my mind. It would always circulate back to that conversation. Keita, you got to let them know. And because of this, I was not able to properly mourn my mother due to this narcissistic energy. But I'm going to stop there and we'll continue on. All right, guys, I will talk to you later.